How is this still happening in 2025? This ranks so high in the realm of unacceptable disgusting behavior, it's pleasantly shocking. So a short rundown, Bitmap Books, a small publisher that produces books mostly about retro gaming, was set to release a book called The Definitive Book of Super Nintendo RPGs Volume 1. The author of that book was due royalties, because guess what? We live in a country where having someone work for you and then not paying them for that work is not acceptable. If someone does the work, you do not get to say, well, actually, we don't like this guy, so we're not going to pay him. Imagine the disaster that would create if activists and scummy black companies like Bitmap Books normalized not paying artists and writers for their labor, because that's ultimately the goal of Bitmap Books. To make it normal to profit off of the books they sell while not having to pay the creators making the product, EA and Activision are looking at Bitmap Books right now with envy. They wish they could get away with being this repugnant. Bitmap Books is taking the author's royalties away. He gets no pay for his work, however, they are still taking the rest of the money for themselves. So, they are still profiting off of the book that they are virtue signaling over how bad it is. They're not saying, this guy does not match our values so we refuse to sell his product at all. They're not saying, we are sorry for this. We are donating our share entirely. No, they're saying, we want to profit as a corporation off the work of this contractor, but we are not going to give him money for the labor he did for us. And to have the gall to say they take full responsibility for this situation, they are literally taking zero responsibility. They are fully avoiding responsibility for a so-called situation that nobody should be taking responsibility for to begin with. So what is that situation? They notice the author made comments online in 2022 that they found offensive. They of course didn't share those comments themselves, because if they did, it would make them look like the scumbags they are, and this is something these activist filth love to do. They obfuscate the truth because it makes the person they are canceling look terrible. You create some mystique, like the hour-long buildup of a suspense thriller, where you don't know where the monster is or what it looks like. Your imagination runs wild. Most people aren't even going to look into this, so the only thing they're ever going to know about the situation is that you've said this person is despicable, and that's all they need to completely judge a person. Often, these activists, they don't have anything at all. They blast someone or a group of people without evidence or going off the vague, somebody told me he was a istphobe. How many times do activist invested game studios or consultants say a bunch of incel-istphobe gamers are saying mean, horrible things on social media, and yet they never are able to show a single example because they have none. These people will happily steal from you, ruin your lives, kill you over the suspicion that maybe you, once upon a time, said something they might disagree with. You ask them half the time they cancel someone, well, what did he say that was so horrific? And they're going to answer, really bad stuff. And these are the people running entertainment into the ground. This is a virtue signal, and like always, it's all signal, zero virtue. Bitmap Books wants to normalize not paying artists and writers for their work. Activists love this sort of thing. They dream of a society where artists and writers will not get paid and will have to go through a struggle session and in-depth social media inquisition in order to get their salaries. Their dream is a social credit score decides if you live or die. A utopia for activists and corporations. Question: what's worse, having some impolite banter on Twitter or refusing to pay someone who did a job for you? Keep in mind, the first is a person using free speech to engage in mildly offensive banter years ago. The second is slavery. So, free speech or slavery? What do you support? Bitmap Books supports and endorses slavery and hates free speech. How did this even happen? Not this specific instance, but in general. Can anyone explain why publishers, writers, artists seem to really hate free speech? There has been a trend for a decade and a half for people in the entertainment industry to openly celebrate and engage in cancel culture. They openly hate the freedoms of speech and expression, which are literally the freedoms that allow them to do their own work at all. They cannot look past their own nose to realize just how horribly their own efforts to normalize cancel culture and stealing people's jobs and salaries is going to backfire on them one day. A corporation stealing an artist or writer's work and refusing to pay them for labor should chill every single writer and artist. But activists support and praise this. Not paying someone for their work should just chill you as a human being. But again, activists support and praise this. But we're not going to stop with Bitmap Books here. To the author, Moses Norton, we get it. We know what goes on in these scummy corporations. We get there was a struggle session and they threatened to blackmail you, blacklist you, dox you, call you istophobe, send their goons to harass you. They still publicly dragged your reputation through the mud even after you did everything they demanded of you. You cannot apologize to these people. The result is the same, except now you just work for them for free and they are profiting off of your work after they tried to set your career and reputation on fire. And your apology is them getting you to admit the extremely mild conversation you had years ago was something so terrible you deserve to not get paid for your labor. Writers, artists, you cannot please the activists. Pay attention. Cancel culture can be defeated. Gamers want to stand up for victims of corrupt corporations like Bitmap Books. But you still need to fight for yourself. If you decide to let them take your salary away from you and drag you on social media, that's exactly what they're gonna do. We can't stop them from doing to you what you let them do. And once you join in and legitimize your own cancellation, there's really not much anyone else can do to help you. And this is bad for everyone. Cancel culture still runs strong because when people bow to the mob, it fuels the mob to seek more victims to burn at the social justice stake. These activists want to cut your throat, figuratively and literally. Stop handing them the knife. But if you like getting paid for the work you do, which apparently is a controversial take these days worthy of cancellation, like, comment, and subscribe. Keep in mind, if EA Electronic Arts, a back-to-back winner of Worst Company in America, fired you over something you said on Twitter, they would not take back the salary you made working for them. You would still be paid for all the work you did. Black companies that are objectively worse than Electronic Arts, like Bitmap Books, that steal pay from employees or contractors through blackmail and threats, when you get shut down, I will dance. And I apologize for absolutely nothing.